entitled parent has insisted that everything must go her own way at her daughter's wedding. She'll stop at nothing to make sure that her special day is a complete disaster. Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. So I sold wedding dresses on and off for 5 years. I have a ton of stories. This one is the worst though. Yes, it will seem fake because it's so outlandish, but I assure you it's not. This is an old story about 1.5 years ago, before I retired. The cast: me, the spine of steel stylist, B is bride, MOB is mother of bride / EM, and M is manager. So at this point I was about 2 months from leaving, as I was entering my senior year of college. I have 2 young daughters, and a really crappy family and in-laws. At this point I have seen it all, but I've run into 2 bridezillas in 5 years. It's mostly mother of brides that are awful. So to set the scene, bride had come in a month prior and picked out her dream dress. Entitled mum was in to pick out her dress. Normal appointments for MOB are an hour. 3 hours later, nothing has worked.
I'm really disappointed in lack of options. Nothing is fancy enough for bride's wedding. Don't you know what you are doing?
I'm sorry, Mrs. MOB, but I have shown you everything that your daughter has recommended in every color that you can get.
But it's really my day. I'm the mother of the bride. I need to look the best.
Me. Remember, I had an end date. No, it's for bride. She's supposed to look the best. You had your time to shine. This isn't about you.
Well, aren't you a little bee? I want to speak to your manager.
Great, I'll go get her. I fill my manager in on the situation. At this point, MOB has walked over to the wedding dresses. How can I help you?
First, you can start by firing your employee. Then you can tell me which of these wedding dresses I can order in blue.
Well, we don't have any dresses you can order in blue.
But you must accommodate me. It's my wedding. I must look the best.
It's actually the bride's wedding. Why don't you come back with your daughter and we can find you another dress?
No, this is my wedding. I want this dress and I want it free for my inconvenience.
That's an 1800 ball gown. I'm not giving it to you for free. At this point, I've snuck off to call the bride. I'm loyal. I had no qualms about telling her what's going on. Bride was mortified. She wanted her mum to get out, so she races over. Mum, stop! We talked about this!
I raised you. I get to wear whatever I want and they will pay for it.
No, you don't. If this keeps up, you won't be invited to the wedding. I have come back at this point. I realize that MOB is holding an identical copy of her kid's dress.
You little bee,
seeing me.
How dare you!
She throws a ball gown at my head and comes after me. My manager body checks her. We call the police and MOB is escorted out with charges. The bride apologizes. She comes in after the wedding and says her mum wasn't invited and she now has a restraining order against her. You have 2 types of parents during a wedding. You have the type of parents that are really chill. They'll pay for things and they'll help support what they feel like they need to support, and then they'll just kind of sit back and let you do what you need to do. They'll make suggestions about who it's appropriate to invite, and they'll make their preferences clear, but they'll never push your hand. After all, it is ultimately your day, not their day. And then you have the other kind of parents during a wedding. The ones that want to control everything and show as little emotional support as possible to the actual couple getting married. Now, sometimes these couples aren't actually stingy, they'll actually offer to pay for everything because it means that they'll control everything. And then if you want changes done, it's like, well, but we're paying for it. This mother of the bride seemed both stingy and controlling. It's almost like she was trying to relive a moment that she never really had for her wedding or something like that. Anyway, if it's your big day, you need to make sure that your wishes are heard clearly and don't let anyone push you around, not even family. So I walk into EB Games looking for some games, and this is when the 2 demons entered the store. The kid looked really happy, so I assumed he was getting a console or a new game, and I was right. He was here to get a new console, but not one that was out yet. In the cast is Entitled Mother, Entitled Kid, me, Unfortunate Employee, Awesome Manager, and Security.
Hi, I would like to buy a PlayStation 5, please.
Sorry ma'am, but that console hasn't been announced yet.
This was last year.
If you'd like, I could show you our current console lineup.
No, we don't want an old console. We want the new PS5.
Like I said, ma'am, the PS5 hasn't even been announced, let alone released. We have the PS4 Pro, though, which is currently the latest in the PlayStation lineup.
Mother, he is lying. I saw a video about it online. The guy even showed the console.
I know my son isn't lying. I know you have PS5s in the back, but you can't sell them yet. Just bring one out here or else.
Ma'am, please don't threaten me, and I will say this again. The PlayStation 5 is not out yet, therefore I cannot sell you a product that doesn't exist.
You know what? Get your manager, and while you're at it, pack your crap up, because I'm about to get you fired.
Nice one, mother.
The unfortunate employee goes out and brings his manager, and now this is the conversation. What seems to be the problem here?
This entitled crap of an employee you have here won't sell me what I want.
What is it that you're looking for?
I want two things. First, you need to fire this piece of crap, and second, I want a PlayStation 5 with at least 10 games free of charge.
And 3 extra controllers, mother.
And that too. Thanks, son.
Ma'am, we cannot sell a product that we don't have. What is so hard to understand about that?
Mother, they're both lying. I watched a video.
Hey, can you put on said video for me? Because most of those are fake.
They're not fake. I'll show you.
Then he pulls up the video and the manager just laughs. Kid, you ever read the description? This guy literally says in there that it's a joke. I wish I had seen the screen so I knew who it was. EM checks the description and goes quiet.
Okay, I've been patient enough. If you won't sell me what I want, I'll take this.
Then she walks over to the PS4 area and grabs a PS4 box and moves to the games.
Mother, don't get the games from there. Those are used.
Then she grabs all the games she saw and leaves. The manager and employee do nothing, and with good reason. See, they obviously kept the console box empty, but the game cases were empty too, because they kept the discs up at the front counter. With the pre-owned ones, some stores don't empty those due to space issues. Do you get people like that a lot?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, well, do you have any Fallout 76 copies left?
Sorry, we're sold out, but can you check back tomorrow?
Okay, thanks. The next day when I arrive, I see security in the store, talking to EM and DK.
But this store freaking scammed me. They sold me empty game cases and an empty box of a PlayStation. And you're blaming me?
Ma'am, you stole those game cases and claimed they sold it to you.
You have no freaking proof of that, but I have my son as a witness, you dumb bee.
Dumb bee, huh? Well then why don't we just see the security tapes? Now EM turns as pale as sand and says nothing.
But mother, my games!
Shut up!
Then she was arrested for stealing, and that's karma for you kids. You know, I don't doubt that there would be a lot of kids, and by extension, the parents of those kids, that would believe a lot of those fake online videos that pretend to be a release video for a new console or a new phone. Some of those are pretty well polished. And if you're a kid and you don't really have the awareness, I could see by watching one video you might actually believe that it's out. Now if you're a parent, I get that you might not be in the whole gaming culture, but you'd think you'd do a little bit of research and not just completely trust your kid, especially when the employees at the store, the people who sell the game, it's literally their business, are telling you that it's not out yet. And what's with EP's claims of always wanting something for free for being supposedly inconvenienced? There's a legitimate time and place for that. Like if a store gets your order wrong, you know, often they'll give you a free replacement meal, that sort of thing. But if you made the mistake of wasting your time because you didn't do the research to see that that console isn't even out yet, you are the only one responsible for the inconvenience you caused yourself. Hey Voicey, I'm a longtime fan of your work, and this is my first time posting. Oh, thanks for posting. This story contains OB, my older brother, MS, my twin sister, EM entitled Mum, MM, movies manager, and me. A little background before we start. I'm a 17-year-old male. I have a rather big family, brothers, sisters, cousins, etc. My twin sister was born with a rare condition or disease, or whatever you want to call it. It's called polymorphic light eruption, also known as sun allergy, while I was born a mute, meaning I can't talk. We live in a country that has mostly sunny weather. She doesn't care though, and she prefers to stay inside. Now onto the story. This happened a few weeks ago, and my brother is still ticked about it. My sister had been wanting to go see this new movie that was coming out. She'd seen the trailers and had fallen in love with them. After a few days of good behavior and convincing our parents, they agreed to let us go as long as she took 2 family members with her, in case something went wrong. She decided to take me and OB. Are you sure you want to do this, MS? My sister practically busting with excitement at this point. Yes! OB looking very concerned. Alright. Make sure you're covered though. I don't want you to get hurt. My brother was always protective of my family. Seeing as he's the oldest, I'm not surprised. After 2 hours of driving in OB's car, we finally reach the movie theater. We get out the car and walk inside to buy the tickets. We're standing in line with OB standing behind MS. The movie theater was made mostly out of glass by the front door. In walks the entitled mother and her kid, who looked about 13 or 14 years old. The mother stands behind us in the line, while her kid starts running all over the place, knocking stuff over and annoying people. The kid then spots my sister's black hoodie and tries to pull down the hood. "Hey kid, leave my sister alone." EM glares at my brother.
Don't yell at my son. If he wants to play with a hood, he can.
OB looking mildly irritated. "No, he can't. Keep your kid under control." I was very confused and angry at this point. If I could speak, I'd have a few choice words for that woman. No less than 20 minutes later though, the kid tries once again to pull down my sister's hood. "Leave me alone, please. I really want to see this movie." The kid just runs over to his mother and says something. The mother then glares at my sister and says,
"How dare you tell my son what he can and can't do, you little..."
OB interrupts her. "I thought I told you to keep your kid away from my sister." Then steps in front of MS, now trying to keep as much of himself between her and the glass window where they were now facing.
"How dare you interrupt me?"
OB fuming with rage. "My sister is allergic to the sun, you freaking bee." The entitled mum starts screaming and swearing at my brother, calling almost everything in the book, and they say,
"Your allergy doesn't exist. I bet you're just lying to get a free movie ticket."
Little did me or my brother know, that little brat kid had managed to sneak around my brother and pulled down my sister's hood. My sister was with the sun now touching her face, screaming in pain. Pulls up her hood, crouches on the floor and starts crying in pain. I rushed to my sister's side to make sure she was alright, but at this point, not only had an employee called the manager, but my brother finally snapped. Little side note, my brother is 6'3" and an extremely big build person. Last I checked, he can lift over 350 pounds. "That tears it!" Gives a death glare to the kid and says in a demonic tone, "Back off!" In steps movie manager.
"What's going on here?"
EM looks at the manager and gives an evil smirk to my brother.
"These people are scaring my son and are lying about her."
Points to my sister. Manager looks at me, OB and MS.
"Oh, hello."
And says all of our names. OB says through his teeth, "Hello, uncle." And then he says the manager's name. The entitled mother's face turns ghostly pale. The look on her face was priceless.
"These people are your nephews and niece?" "Not really, but their father is my best friend."
I glance up at EM and give a "you're screwed" smile.
"Ma'am, I'm going to give you two choices. You can either leave this theater and never come back, or I can have security carry you out." "But they were scaring my son."
OB still very angry. "Get the frick out of my sight and take your little brat kid with you." EM is smart at this point, grabs her kid and leaves. Manager calls an ambulance for my sister, then our parents to tell them about what happened. Before we left with MS to the hospital, MM approached me and said, "I'm incredibly sorry about what happened, and when MS is all better, come back and I'll give you all a private screening of any movie, and free snacks as an extra apology." I nod my head and walk towards my brother's car. 4 days later we go back and watch the movie, with free snacks and drinks. The best part is, we haven't seen EM or her kid ever since. Now I would have thought that a sun allergy would have been extremely rare, but after a quick Google search, which is of course like the best research you can do, apparently 10 to 20% of the world's population have some form of sunlight allergy. Obviously in this case it was a much more extreme example, but just because you've never heard of an allergy before doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I think there are a lot of people who just live very average sheltered lives, and you know, they've heard of nut allergies or a milk allergy, but as soon as there's something that doesn't quite fit in the small box that they call the world, they freak out and they can't understand how this new thing can now fit into their worldview. Somebody might be allergic to the sun. It's almost like their brain freaks out and so they just react in these really crazy ways. Unfortunately, they usually cause harm to the people around them. That's why us Voicey veterans gotta be always ready in training. We never know when the enemy might attack. So my family is getting ready to move. Most of our stuff is packed up in the garage. My drums are out there too, but unpacked and set up because I play in a hardcore band and we do practice there. There's this really cute kid, let's call him CK, who always knocks on the garage door and asks to try the drums. Sometimes I let him. I really like the little guy. His mother, EM, however, is a big piece of work. On this particular day, I was studying for a midterm in my room when I heard someone on my drums. I thought it was my siblings, who I don't trust around the kit anymore because they punched 2 holes in the tom heads. So I went out to tell them to get off it. However, it seems that they were out in the neighborhood and left the garage door open. On the kit was CK, and EM was in the driveway recording him. I walked out and asked who they asked to use the kit, and EM said the garage door was open and CK wanted to play. I was a bit shocked that she just let him walk up and play, especially because it was technically in our house. I started to explain that I was fine with him playing as long as he asked, but she started to say that she was supervising him so they didn't have to. I was annoyed by this, but I decided not to comment on it. I told EM that I needed them to leave because I was studying and I needed to close the garage door. She was not happy about this. She started going on about how CK just wanted to play the drums and that I was preventing him from learning. I said I was sorry, but I couldn't have them there right now. CK seemed fine with it, probably because he knows that I'd let him some other time, but EM started yelling at him to sit back down and keep playing. I kept telling her that I needed to study, but she wouldn't have any of it. I really didn't want to threaten to call the cops on her, but she was starting to become hostile towards me, yelling and telling me what a horrible person I was. CK seemed pretty embarrassed by the whole thing. When I told EM that I would call the police if she didn't leave, she walked up to the drum set and tried to pick it up and move it. Unfortunately for her, I used frame mounts for my cymbals, and the bass drum was in between the frame posts. She wasn't going anywhere with my drums. When she started unscrewing my cymbals, I called the cops. The EM was out of there extremely fast once I was on the phone. I ended up directing the cops to her house when they showed up, and now whenever she sees me, I get a dirty stare and some rude language. CK still comes over once in a while, and I'd like to teach him whenever I can. Still a really cute kid. I think it's really nice that even though this guy had a neighbor who was a really terrible entitled mum, that didn't take away from the fact that he saw this kid as an individual person. I think sometimes it's really easy to judge the kids based on the parents, but us Voicey veterans like to have hope that maybe each generation has a chance. So who knows, maybe this guy saved this kid from becoming another entitled parent. Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.